What should I do if I have a bad reaction to pool water, or maybe your children went swimming in some swimming pool that's yours or not yours even, and they've had a bad reaction, which is like a rash, probably, or hives, or itchy skin, or any kind of unusual thing. So there's a specific course of action I want you to take here. I want you to get a detailed water chemistry analysis done, and I cannot overstate how important it is for you to do that. There are so many people that I talk to that say, "Oh, I need some alternative water chemistry approach because I'm allergic to chlorine. Whenever I go in a chlorine pool, I have a problem." I'm not saying you don't. It might be the case, but I do want you to be aware it is exceedingly rare to react to chlorine in general, but it is not rare at all to react to high levels of combined chlorine or an imbalance in the pH of the water. And so, to add to that, I would also tell you that as a swimming pool specialist with 30 plus years in the industry, I would say 50 out of 100 swimming pools are even close to balance. And you might be like, "Wait, so like half of the pools out there are very poorly chemically balanced?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, that sounds about right." It's most of the pools are not very good. There's a 10-20% of the pools out there, I haven't a clue how you don't have a problem. How are your children not having swimmer's ear, or you have some other issue? Because I can tell by speaking to you, you haven't a clue how to maintain the water from a water chemistry perspective. So instead of jumping to conclusions and saying, "I must be allergic to chlorine," because a lot of people do say that, instead, go ahead, make no assumptions, take a water test. It's the best thing you can possibly do. And I want you to look at a couple things in particular. I want you to look at free chlorine compared to total chlorine. Those two numbers should be exactly identical. If those two numbers are not exactly identical, this indicates the presence of a combined chlorine. Combined chlorine is an irritant and something that I'm suspecting might be responsible for what you're experiencing. So, not chlorine and not a well balanced pool, but in a poorly balanced pool, you might react to the combined chlorine. There should be 0 parts per million combined chlorine in the well balanced pool example. In a poorly balanced example, 1 part per million combined chlorine. So it doesn't actually take a whole lot of combined chlorine before it's a problem for some people. Speaking of problem for some people, let's talk about pH. pH is the measurement of the relationship between acids and bases in pool water, or in water. And what people don't necessarily realize, you might know, okay, my range is 7.2 to 7.8. That is because that is comfortable for us, for swimming in the water. If you are aiming for, let's say, we're talking about a pH of 8. If you have a pH of 7, this is an exponential scale. So a pH of 7 isn't a little bit more acidic than a pH of 8. A pH of 7 is 10 times more acidic than a pH of 8. And when stated like that, well, it sounds a little bit more important. Taking it further, if we have a pH of 6, that is 100 times more acidic than a pH of 8. A pH of 5. Let's say you really didn't know what you're doing. Your water pH is 5. Well, I certainly hope that's not the case, but if that's the case, that water is 1,000 times more acidic than the range that you're aiming for. So you see how that could be a problem. Like, a lot of people are going to react to water that's 1,000 times more acidic than it's supposed to be. It's like, "Oh, my eyes are burning." You don't say. That's basically the same as, pH acidity as strong cup of coffee. So yeah, if you went swimming in it, I suspect that a lot of people would be having some problems with their skin afterwards. So that's why you don't want to jump to conclusions here and make the assumption that you're allergic to chlorine. Endeavor to test the water. And I'm talking about more than a test strip. Like, I would dunk a test strip and I would start a little book and I'd just write down all the information that you can collect about this pool. Like, when's the last time chemical treatments were done to it? Is there any history of the water chemistry reports? Then I would dunk a test strip. I would take one, if not two, water samples. And the rule is, if your elbow doesn't get wet, it doesn't count, meaning you need to go deep to get that water sample. Don't just collect it from the surface of the water, and promptly bring that water in for testing. The reason why I'm taking two samples If this was a big problem, if you had a major health reaction, I might even go to 2 different places, 2 different sources, and have this water tested. Maybe one is like a swimming pool test lab, and they do a very generic water test for you. Still good information. We're gonna check that combined chlorine level and a couple of other things like the pH level, but it's pretty, light duty as far as water testing goes. If somebody has had a severe reaction, you might endeavor to spend a little bit of money and have this water professionally tested for a host of things ranging from contaminants to metals to chemicals to who knows what. And that would be something that I would look at doing if somebody's had a severe reaction. So test the water, don't make any assumptions, because there could be a number of different things which have caused this reaction. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can check out my website, swimmingpoolsteve.com.